I leave out miniature donkeys in my conversation. These things can live on sticks pretty much. So, talking horses. So, horses another issue. Like I said, they have a really huge long gut system, and they need a lot of continuous forage in their diet. And they generally are happier grazing or eating a lot more forage than that 2% dry matter intake. Your typical boarding barn, you see a lot of problems where they'll feed 2 flakes in the morning and 2 at night, shove a bunch of grain at them, which is a starch. And because they got that really long digestive system, if it's not full of forage, remember it's meant to eat a low quality diet. Well, I shouldn't use that quality, a low digestibility grade of food compared to what we're used to, and keep it in their gut the whole time. But when that gut isn't filled up with that, with several gallons of forage, then what happens is, and you feed grain in there, the starch, that's when you get your colics, your impactions, your blood disorders, your high energy for high fat deposition. And that's when you end up with all the digestive and metabolic issues, especially that older horses get. And you see it in donkeys too. Big problem. You talk to any farrier with the donkeys, they end up getting some type of laminitis or feed issues later on, and founder because people feed them too much grain. Grain is the enemy, I believe, of horses. So when you're with if you're feeding a rather mature grade of forage to, these equines, you're better feeding a lot of mature hay and letting them pick through it and get the good components out of it. So they're continuously gnawing, grazing, chewing, getting that digestive system working, then feeding them a very digestible grade of forage, but limiting the amount, okay? Because one thing with horses, they can utilize forages, they can utilize a low-grade hay pretty well if you feed them enough quantity, because they high-grade the bale, because they have that upper lip, which is like a mini trunk, and they're related to hippos and rhinos. And when you see them, it's almost like our opposable thumb. They go through and watch that upper lip is thumbing through and eating up all these leaves. That's what cows don't have that. Goats don't have that. And all this leaf that is falling down, they eat that like grain. That is a massive amount of protein and energy in this leaf area where you see I call it high grading, where they're going to leave the stem last. And one thing that it's tough to realize for horse owners that I'm selling hay to, a lot of times they aren't really meant to eat all that stem. They will go and high grade the bale, and they do it quite well. If I can get her to nibble this, which she's not, you'd really get to see that upper lip in action, but she's apparently full right now. That brings up another point when we're talking about the ability to high grade the bale. Animals that really do that is our other group, which are the combination grazers, browsers. So our goats, our alpacas, our sheep, commonly goats on maintenance diets, people will request the most digestible hay you have, like a grade of, alfalfa or something, which again, the goats get really fat and obese. They don't need it at all because they want them. Goats are not meant, neither are alpacas, because of their grazing / browsing habit. They really pick through and just eat the leafy material. And they're not going to eat it all of that hay, unless you give them a very digestible hay, which may be nutritionally too much for them, more than they actually need. And the importance of that is, okay, you pay less money for a lower grade hay than a high quality grade hay. So you can balance it out that way. You can say, well, yeah, but I'm getting some waste. Well, yeah, you are, but make sure that you pay appropriately for those different grades of hay. I do sell a fair amount of hay to alpaca people. Alpaca have gotten more common in the last 20 or 30 years, and they always want an orchard grass, straight orchard grass hay. They don't like the waste. I did have an alpaca. One of my clients, I sold her some second cutting round bales. I had some for her, was predominantly orchard grass, but it had a lot of red clover in it. And she takes them to shows. She said, well, the red clover actually causes slobbers on them pretty bad, and it gets all over their fur. She didn't want to take them to a show if they were eating the red clover hay. So she did buy some of the bales, but she wasn't going to feed them to animals she was taking to a show. And I've never actually seen slobbers in any, supposedly horses get them. I've never seen that in anything that I have fed. Well, hey, thanks for watching. This is just a quick review of some common hay feeding myths that, as a hay grower, I wanted to get off my chest. There's a couple really good YouTube channels to watch where they talk about feeding quite a bit. Obviously, if you wanted to see somebody mixing dairy feed all the time, look up Shane Holst up in Minnesota. He's got a YouTube channel. He's either mixing feed or he's breaking the living hell out of farm equipment and doing a lot of repair work. If you want to see a brood cow combination finishing some cattle, my buddy Ed Goslin, way out west there in Oregon, he talks a lot about how he's feeding his cattle, and you can see a combination of both. So anyways, thanks for tuning in. I'm sure there'll probably be a lot of comments and advice handed down. I sure would appreciate it.